All right, here we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about a little bit about innovations and inventions. We were talking about how for the next 2 days we're going to finish up with like some of the great things that the Romans gave to us and to make our life a little bit easier. All right, so your assignment today is going to come off of Canvas. If you'll go ahead and click on Canvas, and then you'll find a assignment that is titled Roman Innovations down there at the bottom, okay? So it'll be titled Roman Innovations down there at the bottom. Everybody find that? Roman Innovations. Okay? So it should be on assignments and slide all the way down to the very bottom. It may pop up on your to-do list, but like I said, it's titled Roman Innovations. We'll come back to it here in just a second if you don't find it there. All right, so the first thing we got to understand is what's the difference between an innovation and an invention, okay? So I'm going to tell you what an invention is. An invention is something that has never been done before. It's brand new. All right, somebody has invented something. They come up with it out of the blue. It's something that's useful to you. How many of you have ever watched the deal Shark Tank? You watched the show Shark Tank, okay? Most of all of those are inventions. Some of them are innovations, but a lot of them are inventions. They're brand new people coming up with brand new ideas, trying to sell you something that makes your life easier. I'll give you an example of an invention as compared to an innovation. So like inventing the computer, that was an invention, okay? So, you know, dude in his garage comes up with all the motherboards, the keyboard, the screen, all the other stuff. Next thing you know, everybody has one in their house, okay? So then we go on to the next part, and back in the day, probably about within the last 10 years ago, there used to be a Radio Shack in Stephenville. I mean, anybody y'all remember a Radio Shack being in Stephenville? It was over by the movies. So there was like what that video game store is right now. And then there's like an Aaron's Rent-A-Center type deal. That Aaron's deal in there, in that area, a couple down, that was where the Radio Shack was. So they had this newspaper article, and it had a list of like all the stuff that was in Radio Shack. All right. And somebody did this one time, and they found out that everything that was in the newspaper was worth about $8,000. All right. Well, the thing is, everything that was in that $8,000 newspaper deal that was for Radio Shack is all in your iPhone now and then some. Okay. So they've condensed everything down. They've innovated the idea that I have a computer in my hand, plus I can communicate, I can do social media, I can text, I can call, I can do everything else. And that's your idea of an innovation, okay? So they invented the iPhone. They innovated the idea of the computer into the iPhone. They kept going, they kept going, they kept going. I'll tell you another innovation on a phone. It was pretty interesting. So whenever I was about your age, where I lived at in the country, we were on what was called a party line. Okay, how many of you even have a phone in your house now that's like a landline? You have a home phone number? Probably none. Okay, some people still have them. Last class I had about 3. I don't have it anymore. Probably about 8 years ago, I dropped having a home phone number. Somebody was laughing the other day because they were showing they still give phone books out, and you still have you know, people's names with the phone numbers and everything else in it. And that used to be the only way you knew how to call somebody was look it up in the phone book. Well, now you don't have really a phone, so there's no reason for a phone book. Not everybody's cell phone number is listed. You just got it all saved in on your contacts. Well, imagine this. So I'm a little kid, and I'm going to call one of my buddies, and I pick up my phone at my house, and then all of a sudden I pick it up, and other people are talking on it. So I just got to hang up, and I got to wait my turn until somebody's done with their conversation. Now, if you get 2 old ladies up the road that want to talk for 30 minutes, you got to wait 30 minutes. If there's an emergency, you pick up the phone and you're like, hey, I got an emergency. I need you to get off the phone now. I got to call 911. All right. Or if you're like me, when you're a little kid, you were kind of like an eavesdropper. You want to know what was going on. So I would pick up the phone and I would cover the microphone so that way you could hear what the people on your road were talking about, but they couldn't hear you. And then eventually you'd hear them and they'd be like, you hear somebody breathing on the phone? Somebody's listening to us. And all of a sudden, click, you'd hang it up in a hurry. But the idea that not everybody had their own phone line, well, that got improved to where everybody had their own phone line. Then that got improved to where everybody has their own phone. All right, so those inventions turned into innovations, and the innovations continued to grow. All right, what are some other things that you can think of that are innovations that we've come up with and we've used to make our life better? What are some things we've innovated?
Like cars, like how they're self-driving and stuff now.
Okay, cars, definitely. So we go from an old Model T, all right, to something that is ran on solar powered instead of gas. We've changed the way that they are. We have cars that have all of these sensors all over the place that tell you you're about to hit something. You can take your hands off the wheel. It'll automatically reverse park it in and parallel park it for you. So there's a lot of innovations that have gone on the cars. The idea of a Tesla, if it ends up working out all the kinks, that essentially you can hands-free drive all the way to a point as long as their sensors don't mess up and see the bottom of a semi as a roadway and keep going. But there's a lot of innovations. There'll probably be self-piloting cars before you know it on that part right there. Okay, what else? That's a good one. Give me two more. What are two more innovations? Barnes, are you Googling them right now, or what are you doing? Yeah, exactly.
Another innovation, probably Siri.
Okay, Siri. There's an automatic deal. Google Home, Siri, Alexa. You ask a question. I know whenever I do math now, for the most part, like if I got a long list of numbers that I got to get, there's Siri going right now. I'd ask it. So I just pick it up and I say, hey, Siri, what's 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 8 plus 7 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1? And then it tells me the answer. Okay. I don't have time to add all that stuff up. So you get instant numbers on it right there. Okay. A lot of questions that you have out there. You ask Siri what it is. It's going to pull it up again, I bet. So as it goes along, you know, AI, artificial intelligence, all that stuff. That was an invention, which also turns into an innovation. Give me one more. Give me one more that you may use in your day-to-day life. Music is a big one. Y'all guys don't even know the struggle on this right here. Back in the day, you used to have a Walkman. Yeah, okay. My parents had 8-track. They had 8-track tapes that they had to plug in, and it was like this little box. And then I got this deal. It was a Walkman, and it was a cassette tape, and you put it in, and you got your headphones that go to it. And you got this little pack on the side. It's got your music jamming in there. And then you went to a CD player, and like you're driving your truck around, but then you had to put a pillow on top of it so you could put your CD player on there so it wouldn't skip whenever it was bouncing. Well, then you get an in-dash CD player, and then now you get everything's played on your iPhone, and it Bluetooth connects, and you don't have to worry about it. So all that stuff is innovated over and over and over and over. Kind of the same thing of like a CD, being able to have something that's a CD. Somebody was asking a kid the other day, and they were like, you know what this is? And they were like, what's that, like a Christmas ornament? You know, like the CD flipping around with all the stuff. Yep. Yeah, y'all have no idea either, like what a black floppy disk is whenever you'd actually put them into a computer, the old Oregon Trail games and stuff like that. So,
Oregon Trail.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Used to play that a ton whenever, that was our break time whenever we were in class, was Oregon Trail. So things have innovated really, really fast. So the way that ties into today's lesson is the Romans came up with a lot of great things. They were very, very successful at what they did. We talked about the aqueduct on the history of mankind. We're going to touch a little bit more on it today. But the overall idea is they came up with big time deals, innovations, inventions, things like that, that we still use today. They led to the modern marvels of what we have today in the United States. All right, so I'm going to click on that link. And when I click on that link, it's going to pull up. It's going to click on it and go to a video as soon as my Zoom part gets out of the way. There it is.
Can you start your laptop?
I have to here in a second. It's only got 1% on it. See if it'll pull it up first. What do we still got to have for all of these innovations to work? Power. Got to have some power in there. There it goes. A little bit of lag. And maybe. There it is. There it went.
How can we avoid fixing?
We gotta get past the commercial first.
Bypass construction and get an office when you need it, and change what wasn't working to what will. All major societies were built around fresh water supplies. To build a large city like Rome, you have to have a really large water supply, one that would not exist naturally. So the Romans built it.
The aqueducts were such a brilliant innovation because they brought water from clean springs up in the mountains and carried it, often covered aqueducts, completely protected from any kind of pollution, right into the heart of the city.
Rome had a complex relationship with water. They were utterly dependent on fresh drinking water. They celebrated water. You went to the Roman baths. So the baths were the places where people met, people did business, people arranged marriages. To be thirsty in Rome would be unthinkable. By the year 50 AD, under Emperor Claudius, Rome is a teeming city. You have a city of nearly 1 million people or more.
Establishing those basic needs for a city can do so much for enriching the culture of it, because people are no longer spending hours a day carrying water back and forth.
For Claudius, the aqueduct was a great way to endear himself to the Roman populace. There were 2 chief aqueducts that came into Rome under Claudius's watch. The challenge for the builders was to, well, first to find a great source of water, which they did about 40 miles from the city. And then, because they ran by gravity, the challenge was to take it from those heights into the city and not dip below a certain level. The aqueducts are just so beautiful from an engineering point of view. They drop at a constant rate of just a few centimeters per kilometer. They had to get the rate exactly right because you need the water to flow fast enough that it gets delivered to your city, but slowly enough that you don't drain the reservoir too quickly. And they were able to do this without lasers or modern surveying equipment. They made levels with a little bit of water in them. The aqueducts, I think, are some of the most impressive landscape art ever built. Obviously, they were built for a functional purpose, but the Romans knew their value as a symbol of Rome's power. They signified the ability to conquer nature, so it was, in a sense, another type of conquest for the Romans.
So Rome's got this city that's there, and it starts to grow. We can kind of equate that to the exact same thing as like San Antonio. How many of you have ever been to San Antonio? Quite a few. So you're going into the northern part of San Antonio where 281 starts to meet 1604 on the outside loop. And there's a small town called Bulverde. And there used to be nobody there. But now when you get to the northern part of San Antonio, it takes about another 30, 35 minutes to get through all the lights, to get through all the traffic, all the other stuff that's in there with all the restaurants and housing and all the other stuff. It's grown, and one of the biggest issues that they had was to have a way to get water to the rest of the people that were there. The same issue that the Romans had whenever their city grows to close to 1 million. Okay, they had to get water that's there. I'll give you another example of how it directly relates to what we live in today. Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, all of that area of California, 1/6 of the entire United States lives in that area. Okay, so you take huge United States and you cut it into 6 chunks, and 1/6 of them live right there. There's not enough water there to be able to have enough drinking water, have enough usage of water in that area. So therefore they had to build an aqueduct, just like the Romans had to build. But instead of going 40 miles, they went all the way up to almost Oregon to be able to have that aqueduct that flows from the Sierra Nevadas all the way down to Los Angeles to be able to provide water to them. Okay. So what we're going to do today is I want you to look at that link. So I go to my Canvas page. There's a little blue link that says Roman Innovations. I'm going to click on the link and it says, look at the top 10 innovations of the Roman Empire. In your opinion, what was the greatest accomplishment of that innovation, that achievement during that time? And then relate the exact same topic to something that is in current times. So are we still using it today? Is concrete something that's still very important to us? 100%. You look at the Metroplex, and there's more concrete than there is grass and dirt that's there. All right, we've covered everything with concrete because we've built upon the top of it right there. All right, roads is another huge example. Yes, sir. I'm going to take it in a second. All right, so it says examples of questions and answers to use for this. How does this Roman innovation equate to today's use in the United States? And did it make our lives easier based upon their innovation? All right, roads, yes. That made it 100 times easier for us. Now we have county roads, we have city roads, we have interstates, we have pay roads. All right, all that stuff kind of goes in the same way. Have we replaced any of these innovations with what and why? Did we make it better? Did we innovate their innovation already and make it something more important to us? So you're going to click on that link and it's going to open up a deal and they're going to have 10 things already listed. Okay. Aqueducts. It's going to give you the background information of what the Roman aqueduct was about. It goes down to concrete, newspapers, welfare, bound books, roads and highways, the Roman arch, a little bit of Colosseum behind it right there, the Julian calendar, the 12 tables and Corpus Juris Civilis, and then battlefield surgery. Okay, so those are the 10 topics that they've chosen. And what you're going to do for today and tomorrow is you're going to take the first 5 today and you are going to answer these questions that go along with it. All right? In your opinion, why was it a great accomplishment? All right? What was it? Something, does the achievement relate to something that we do today? So we've already said this, like the aqueduct in Rome was the same as the aqueduct that reaches water to Los Angeles, okay? And we get specific with it. We Google it, find the answer to it, get a little bit more research on it, tell about it. All right? How does this Roman innovation equate to today's use in the United States? The same way, okay? It brings water to 1/6 of the population of the United States in this area. Did it make our lives easier? Yes, because if not, those people would have had to live somewhere else in the United States because water, housing, food, those are the big 3 things that we have to be able to live in a civilization. Have we replaced it with other innovation? All right. I mean, you think about it, there's a lot of, like in Stephenville, right across from HEB, there's water stations. Like you go up there and you just fill up your buckets. How did they used to have to get water to the Roman cities? They carried it, right? They got buckets and they carried it in every day. If you had to have that much water every day, were you able to do other stuff? No, you were concerned about water, fresh drinking water, okay? So therefore, it allowed them to make other innovations because they had one less thing to worry about. The same way that farming allowed people to stop and civilize and stay in an area and grow civilizations because they had an immediate food source that was there, okay? So how are you going to do this? You're going to get a sheet of paper and you're going to write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to answer these questions off of it. Then you're going to go to the next 5 tomorrow and you're going to answer 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tomorrow. All right. And those will be your daily grades off of. On Friday, we'll do a current event. We'll discuss. We'll be good to go. Okay. Anybody have any questions about anything? You're going to only do 5 today. Do the first 5. Okay. Keep them in order of how they're listed. I don't care if you do whichever 5 you want to. There's 5 that really appeal to you. Go ahead and do those 5. But you have to do all 10, and you have to keep them in order on your paper. If you need paper, there's some up here at the front of the class. All right. If you're at home online, you can do it, and then you can send me an email of the picture of the paper that you have completed. Everybody good? All right. I do, sir. It's right here. Be the